The hydraulic fluid under my fingernails told the story of another 16-hour day, but Colonel Harrison's words still echoed in the hangar like a slap across my face. Listen here, Rodriguez. You and your grease monkeys need to understand your place. Pilots fly these birds, you just keep them running. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. My name is Elena Rodriguez, and I've been working on aircraft for 12 years. Started right out of high school, worked my way up from cleaning tools to leading the night maintenance crew at Edwards Air Force Base. But to most of the pilots, especially the hotshots flying the F-22 Raptors, we were invisible. Just another part of the machinery that kept their precious jets operational. The other members of my crew, Jackson, a 20-year veteran who could diagnose engine problems by sound alone. Maria, whose electronics expertise had saved more missions than anyone would ever acknowledge. And Tommy, barely 19, but with an intuitive understanding of hydraulics that amazed even the engineers. They all felt the sting too. We were the ones who crawled into spaces pilots couldn't even see, who worked through storms and heat waves, who caught problems before they became disasters. But we were just grease monkeys. That Tuesday started like any other. The pre-dawn. Desert air was crisp as we gathered around our assignment board. 6 F-22s needed routine maintenance, and one tail number 054108 had been grounded with mysterious electrical issues that had stumped the day shift. Rodriguez, take your team and figure out what's wrong with 108, Sergeant Mills instructed. The pilots are breathing down everyone's necks about getting her back in the air. As we approached the sleek, angular fighter, I felt that familiar mixture of admiration and frustration. The F-22 Raptor represented the pinnacle of American aerospace engineering, a machine that could dance through the sky at twice the speed of sound, invisible to enemy radar. Yet for all its technological sophistication, it still needed human hands to keep it flying. Jackson immediately started running diagnostics on the primary systems, while Maria dove into the avionics bay with her tablet and testing equipment. Tommy and I began the methodical process of checking connections, looking for the loose wire or damaged component that was causing the intermittent power failures. 3 hours later, we found it. A damaged fiber optic cable, nearly invisible but critical to the flight control system. It was the kind of problem that could cause catastrophic failure mid-flight, the kind of thing that separated life from death at 50,000 feet. This would have killed someone, Maria said quietly as she held up the damaged cable. Look at this wear pattern. It's been degrading for weeks. I made the call to ground the entire squadron for inspection. Within an hour, we'd found similar wear patterns on 3 other aircraft. The day shift had missed it. The inspectors had missed it. If any of those planes had been pushed to their limits during combat maneuvers, the results would have been catastrophic. But recognition? Gratitude? Colonel Harrison's response was predictable. About time you people did your jobs properly. Now get these birds ready for the training exercise tomorrow. The training exercise. Operation Desert Thunder was a high-profile joint training mission designed to showcase the F-22's capabilities to visiting Pentagon officials and international allies. 6 Raptors would demonstrate air superiority maneuvers, pushing the aircraft to their operational limits. The brass had been planning it for months. That evening, as my crew finished the cable replacements, I overheard Captain Mitchell and Lieutenant Torres discussing the exercise in the adjacent hangar. Can't wait to show these foreign observers what real American engineering looks like, Mitchell was saying. Too bad we have to depend on the maintenance monkeys to keep our birds running. Torres laughed. At least they know enough to tighten bolts and change oil. Though I swear Rodriguez thinks she knows more about these planes than we do. I felt my jaw clench, but I kept working. Let them talk. Let them think we were just wrench-turners who couldn't possibly understand the complexities of flight. I'd been studying every technical manual, every engineering specification for these aircraft since the day I first laid hands on one. Not because I had to, but because I needed to understand how every system worked together, how each component affected the others. The next morning brought crystal clear skies and perfect flying weather. The visiting officials gathered in the observation tower while ground crews prepared the 6 F-22s for takeoff. I watched from the maintenance bay as the pilots conducted their pre-flight briefings, their flight suits crisp and clean, their confidence radiating across the tarmac. The first phase of the exercise went flawlessly. The Raptors climbed into the desert sky like silver arrows, their vectored thrust nozzles allowing them to perform maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. For 40 minutes, they danced through their choreographed demonstration barrel rolls, vertical climbs, formation flying that left contrails painted across the blue canvas above. Then something went wrong. Captain Mitchell's voice crackled over the radio, tense and urgent. Tower, Raptor 1 experiencing primary flight control failure. Hydraulics are failing, losing maneuverability. From the maintenance bay, I could see his aircraft beginning to wobble, its normally precise movements becoming erratic. The other pilots quickly moved to escort positions as Mitchell fought to maintain control. Tower, I'm losing her, Mitchell transmitted, his earlier cockiness replaced by barely controlled panic. Ejection systems are armed, preparing to punch out. But ejection over the populated areas surrounding Edwards wasn't just about losing a $150 million aircraft. The flight path would take a pilotless F-22 directly over an elementary school during recess, over neighborhoods where children played in their yards. The debris field from an ejection could span miles. Negative on ejection, came the tower's response. Population centers below. Attempt emergency landing on runway 04. Tower, I can't control her enough for a landing approach. The stick isn't responding. Throttle control is intermittent. This bird is dying. In the maintenance bay, Jackson looked at me with wide eyes. Elena, that hydraulic system, we replaced lines on that bird yesterday. If there's a cascade failure in the secondary systems. I was already running toward the tower, my mind racing through the F-22's complex hydraulic architecture. As Mitchell's backup systems began failing one by one, I knew exactly what was happening and exactly what needed to be done to save both the pilot and the people below. The tower was chaos when I burst through the door. Controllers hunched over their radios, officers barking orders, everyone focused on the crisis unfolding in the sky above. Colonel Harrison turned toward me with fury in his eyes. Rodriguez, get out of here. This is no place for maintenance personnel. Sir, I know what's wrong with that aircraft, I said, pushing past him to reach the radio operator. Captain Mitchell. This is Rodriguez from maintenance. I need you to listen to me. Elena? Mitchell's voice carried surprise even through his fear. What the hell, sir? You've got a cascade failure in your secondary hydraulic system, but your emergency backup is still functional. The problem is the computer is defaulting to the failed primary system. You need to manually override to backup hydraulics. I've tried that. The override isn't responding. Because there's a hidden reset sequence. It's not in the pilot's manual. Because it's designed for ground maintenance, but it works in flight. Listen carefully. Colonel Harrison grabbed my shoulder. Stand down, Rodriguez. You don't know what you're talking about. I shrugged him off, keying the radio again. Captain, flip your master electrical to off for exactly 3 seconds, then back on. When the systems reboot, immediately engage manual hydraulics mode and select backup pressure. You'll have about 10 seconds before the computer tries to switch back. Are you insane? Harrison shouted. That will kill all his systems for 3 seconds, I shot back. But it will reset the hydraulic computer to recognize the backup system. It's the only way. Above us, Mitchell's aircraft continued its erratic flight path, each wobble bringing it closer to catastrophic failure. The silence on the radio stretched for an eternity. "Rodriguez," Mitchell's voice finally came through, steadier now. "If you're wrong about this, I'm dead, and you'll spend the rest of your life knowing it." "I'm not wrong, sir. I've spent 3 years studying every system on that aircraft. Trust me." Another pause. Then, "Here goes nothing. Cutting power ... now." For 3 seconds that felt like 3 hours, we watched Mitchell's F-22 go completely dark in the sky. No radio contact, no transponder signal, nothing. Just a $150 million piece of metal falling toward Earth with a human being inside. Then the systems came back online. "Tower, Raptor 1, Mitchell's voice carried a mixture of amazement and relief. "I have control. Repeat, I have control. Hydraulics are responding. Flight controls are normal. Requesting clearance for emergency landing, runway 04. The tower erupted in cheers as Mitchell brought his aircraft around in a smooth, controlled approach. The F-22 touched down gently, its drag chute deploying perfectly as it rolled to a stop on the runway. As emergency crews surrounded the aircraft, Colonel Harrison stared at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not anger, not dismissal, but something approaching respect. "How did you know that would work?" he asked quietly. "Because I read every technical bulletin, every engineering report, every maintenance advisory that comes through this base," I replied. "Because I understand that these machines are only as good as the people who maintain them. Because while you see us as grease monkeys, we're the ones who know these aircraft better than anyone." Captain Mitchell appeared in the tower 20 minutes later, his flight suit soaked with sweat, but his smile genuine. He walked directly to me, extending his hand. "Elena Rodriguez," he said formally, "you saved my life today. And probably saved the lives of a lot of people on the ground." He paused, his voice carrying emotion. "I owe you an apology. We all do. We've been so focused on being the tip of the spear that we forgot about the people who forged the steel." The visiting Pentagon officials and international observers had witnessed everything. Within hours, my radio conversation with Mitchell was being analyzed by aeronautical engineers and safety experts. The hidden reset sequence I'd used became part of official emergency procedures. The maintenance protocol our team had developed for detecting cable wear became standard across all F-22 squadrons. But more than the technical recognition, something fundamental changed at Edwards that day. The invisible wall between pilots and maintenance crews began to crumble. Pilots started joining our technical briefings, asking questions about systems and procedures. They learned our names, understood our expertise, recognized that their lives literally depended on our knowledge and skill. Colonel Harrison pulled me aside a week later. "Rodriguez, I've been thinking about your performance during the emergency. The Air Force needs people who can bridge the gap between maintenance and operations. How would you feel about attending the Air Force Academy's engineering program?" I looked out at the hangar where Jackson was training a new crew member, where Maria was updating diagnostic procedures, where Tommy was explaining hydraulic theory to a curious pilot. My team, my grease monkeys who had always been so much more than anyone realized. "Thank you, sir," I replied. "But I think I can do more good right here, making sure the people who fly these incredible machines understand the people who keep them flying." The F-22 program continued, stronger than ever. But now when pilots walked through our maintenance bay, they didn't see grease monkeys. They saw the people who made their missions possible, who held their lives in skilled and capable hands, who understood that every bolt, every wire, every drop of hydraulic fluid was part of something larger than any individual. Sometimes, the most important victories aren't won in the sky. Sometimes they're won in the moments when respect is earned, when barriers fall, and when people finally see each other clearly. The day I talked Captain Mitchell safely out of the sky, I didn't just save a pilot and an aircraft. I helped save. The understanding that in the military as in life, we all depend on each other, regardless of rank or role. They used to call us just grease monkeys. Now they call us by our names and they listen when we speak. Because they finally understand what I've always known. The difference between flying and falling often comes down to the people willing to get their hands dirty to keep others safe in the sky. In the end, that's not just maintenance work. That's what real service looks like. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.